And this meeting is being live streamed. And we'll find the words to the Damodar Astika song. All right. Share screen. Okay, great. There's beautiful painting. I think this one was done by Jadharani Shamarani Devidasi. Krishna's feigning fear. So Mother Yashoda wants to love him. All right. In the month of Kartik, one should worship Lord Damodar and daily recite the prayer known as Damodarastaka, which is being shown by the sage Satyavrat, spoken by the sage Satyavrat, and which attracts Lord Damodar. Here it's attributing it to the Sri Hari Bhakti Vilas 216-198. We know this is also mentioned in Padma Purana as it states. I just double checked, and as far as I know, I believe that Sri Dandi Swami said that Kartik finishes on the 19th. Jai Bavatrini, obeisances.
Oh, Jai, very happy to see you. Glad
How are
you're
you feeling, little God sister? How's your health?
Oh, good. It's just pain.
Okay. I just checked with Sri Dandi Maharaj, and because I wanted to know what was the last day of Kartik, and I believe it's 19th in India, so I think it's 18th for us. Does that sound right to you?
I don't know. We're finishing the Parikrama Zoom program on the 19th. Our
Right.
day.
No, India's time is always usually a day later, I think, than us. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I can look on the calendar here.
Okay. I'll start singing the Damodarastika song, okay?
Okay. Marie's here, but he's upstairs. He'll be here now.
Okay. Namam Ishwaram Satchidananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashoda Biyolukaladavamanam Param Ristam Matyantato Drutya Gopya Rudantamu Purneta Yugmang Jantam Karam Boja Yugmena Satanka Netram Muhushvashakam Patrere Ankakanta Shtita Graivam Damodarang Bhakti Badam Iti Driksvalila Birananda Kunde Swagosham Nimajjantam Makkyapayantam Tadiyeshitagyeshu Bhaktarjitatvam Puna Prematastang Shatta Vriti Vande Varam Deva Mokshang Na Moksha Badingva Nachanyang Vre Nehang Vare Shadapiha Idam Teva Purnata Gopala Balam Sada Me Manasya Virastam Kimanyai Idam Te Mukam Bojam Atyanta Nilar Vritam Kuntalaish Nigdaraktasha Gopya Muhushchumbitam Bimbarakta Darang Me Manasavirastam Alang Lakshalabhai Namo Deva Damodara Nanta Vishnu Prasida Prabho Dukha Jalabhimagnam Kripa Drishti Vristyati Dingnang Batanu Grihani Shamam Magyam Edi Akshidrishya Kuveratma Jaubada Mutyaiva Yadvat Tvaya mochitau bhakti bhajau kritau cha. Tata prema bhakting swakam me prayacha. Nagmokshe graho me sti damodareha. Namaste Studamne Spura Dipti Damne Tvadi Odarayata Vishvasya Damne Namo Radhikayai Tvadiya Priyayai Namo Nantalilaya Devaya Tubhyam Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. To the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge, and bliss, whose shark-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine realm of Gokul, who, due to the offense of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mother was churning into butter, and then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from his swing, is quickly running from the wooden grinding mortar in fear of Mother Yashoda, but who has been caught from behind by her, who ran after him with greater speed. To that Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, I offer my humble obeisances. Krishna Chandra.
Thank you, Prabhu. Seeing the whipping stick in his mother's hand, he is crying and rubbing his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes are filled with fear, and the necklace of pearls around his neck, which is marked with 3 lines like a conch shell, is shaking because of his quick breathing due to crying. To this Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, whose belly is bound not with ropes, but with his mother's pure love, I offer my humble obeisances.
By such childhood pastimes as this, he is drowning the inhabitants of Gokul in pools of ecstasy, and in revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence, that he is only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbued with intimacy and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodar hundreds and hundreds of times. Do you feel well enough to read, Bhavatrini?
Sure.
Number 4.
O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for the boon of impersonal liberation, nor the highest liberation of eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon which may be obtained by executing the 9 processes of bhakti. I'm sorry. Oh Lord, I simply wish that this form of yours as Bala Gopala in Vrindavan may ever be manifest in my heart. For what is the use to me of any other boon besides this?
Hare Krishna, Shudha Sindhu. Welcome, Shudha Sindhu.
Hare Krishna.
Read number 5, please.
Number 5, okay. O Lord, your lotus face, which is encircled by locks of soft black hair tinged with red, is kissed again and again by Mother Yashoda, and your lips are reddish like the bimba fruit. May this beautiful vision of your lotus face be ever manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me.
O Supreme Godhead, I offer my obeisances unto you, O Lord, O Damodar, O Ananta, O Vishnu, O Master, O my Lord, be pleased upon me. By showering your glance of mercy upon me, deliver this poor ignorant fool who is immersed in an ocean of worldly sorrows and become visible to my eyes. Krishna
Shall I
Chandra?
go? Thank you, Prabhu. O Lord Damodar, just as the two sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nala Kuvara, were delivered from the curse of Narada and made into great devotees by you in your form as a baby tied with a rope to a wooden grinding mortar. In the same way, please give to me your own prema bhakti. I only long for this and have no desire for any kind of liberation.
Hare Krishna Nandapatni, welcome. Obeisances to you.
Hare
Would you
Krishna.
like to read number 8, please?
O Lord Damodar, I first of all offer my obeisances to the brilliantly effulgent rope which binds your belly. I then offer my obeisances to your belly, which is the abode of the entire universe. I humbly bow down to your most beloved Srimati Radharani, and I offer all obeisances to you, the Supreme Lord, who displays unlimited pastimes.
Shri Damodarastakam ki jai. Bhavatrini, did you have a chance to find out whether it's the 18th is the last day of Kartik for us? Oh, excuse me, I muted you because you were coughing. Sorry, I have to ask you to unmute. Okay,
Yes, it is the 18th.
okay, because it's 19th in India. All right,
It's the 18th in Canada, and it's the 18th in the West Coast and Hawaii.
correct. Thank you.
But I think it's the 19th in England, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
India and in Europe or something like that.
mhm. So when it was Rasa Lila night that we celebrated Sharad Purnima not too long ago,
Mhm.
we read through, I think, about half of that pastime. And so now, as we're going through this Bhagavad Prana, Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna book, we're actually on that chapter tonight. But I thought rather than starting from the beginning of it, we would just continue from where we left off, where Lord Krishna is discouraging the gopis from staying in the forest with him. And he's trying to encourage them to go home and reminding them of their duties to their husbands. And the gopis are not appreciating that very much. And also, what I wanted to do was alternate between the commentary of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj's Upadesamrta commentary and that of Srila Prabhupada's. So since we finished the first verse of Upadesamrita from Srila Prabhupada, I thought it'd be really interesting to hear how Srila Sridhar Maharaj encapsulates that commentary. So I have that ready to go whenever we finish.
Great.
Yeah, okay, so here we are. When the gopis appeared to be a little bit disturbed and angry from the free advice of Krishna, they diverted their attention to looking at the beauty of the forest. At that time, the whole forest was illuminated by the bright shining of the moon, and the air was blowing very silently over the blooming flowers, and the green leaves of the trees were moving in the breeze. Krishna took the opportunity of their looking at the forest to advise them, I think you have come out to see the beautiful Vrindavan forest on this night. He said, but you must now be satisfied, so return to your homes without delay. I understand that you are all very...
So you can read.
Can you mute if you're going to talk?
I'm sorry, I meant to mute.
It's okay. It's okay. I understand that you are all very chaste women. So now that you have seen the beautiful atmosphere of the Vrindavan forests, please return home and engage in the faithful service of your respective husbands. Some of you must have babies by this time, although you are very young. You must have left your small babies at home, and they must be crying. Please immediately go back home and just feed them with your breast milk. I can also understand that you have very great affection for me. And out of that transcendental affection, you have come here hearing my playing on the flute. Your feelings of love and affection for me are very appropriate because I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All living creatures are my parts and parcels, and naturally they are affectionate to me. So this affection for me is very much welcome, and I congratulate you for this. Now you can go back to your homes. Another thing I must explain to you is that for a chaste woman, service to the husband without duplicity is the best religious principle. A woman should be not only faithful and chaste to the husband, but affectionate to the friends of her husband, obedient to the father and mother of the husband, and affectionate to the younger brothers of the husband. And most importantly, the woman must take care of the children. That was a long paragraph if you want to read, Krishna Chandra.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. In this way, Krishna explained the duty of a woman. He also stressed the point of serving the husband, even if he is not of very good character, or even if he is not very rich or fortunate, or even if he is old or invalid on account of continued diseases. Whatever her husband's condition, a woman should not divorce her husband if she actually desires to be elevated to the higher planetary systems after leaving this body. Besides that, it is considered abominable in society if a woman is unfaithful and goes searching for another man. Such habits will deter a woman from being elevated to the heavenly planets, and the results of such habits are very degrading. A married woman should not search for a paramour, for this is not sanctioned by the Vedic principles of life. If you think that you are very much attracted to me and you want my association, I advise you not to personally try to enjoy me. It is better for you to go home, simply talk about me, think of me, and by this process of constantly remembering me and chanting my names, you will surely be elevated to the spiritual platform. There is no need to stand near me. Please go back home. The instruction given herein by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the gopis was not at all sarcastic. Such instructions should be taken very seriously by all honest women. The chastity of women is specifically stressed herein by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, this principle should be followed by any serious woman who wants to be elevated to a higher status of life. Krishna is the center of all affection for all living creatures. When this affection is developed for Krishna, then one surpasses and transcends all Vedic injunctions. This was possible for the gopis because they saw Krishna face to face. This is not possible for any women in the conditioned state. Unfortunately, by imitating the behavior of Krishna with the gopis, sometimes a rascal takes the position of Krishna, following the philosophy of monism and oneness, and he very irresponsibly takes advantage of this Rasa Lila to entice many innocent women and mislead them in the name of spiritual realization. As a warning, Lord Krishna has herein hinted that what was possible for the gopis is not possible for ordinary women. Although a woman can actually be elevated by advanced Krishna consciousness, she should not be enticed by an impostor who says he is Krishna. She should concentrate her devotional activities in chanting and meditating upon Krishna, as is advised herein. One should not follow the men called Sahajya, the so-called devotees who take everything very lightly.
Pavitrini. Pavitrini. Can't hear anything. Bhavatrini?
I had to unmute.
Okay.
When Krishna spoke in such a discouraging way to the gopis, they became very sad, for they thought that their desire to enjoy Rasa dance with Krishna would be frustrated. Thus, they became full of anxiety. Out of great sadness, the gopis began to breathe very heavily. Instead of looking at Krishna face to face, they bowed their heads and looked to the ground, and they began to draw various types of curved lines on the ground with their toes. They were shedding heavy tears, and their cosmetic decorations were being washed from their faces. The water from their eyes mixed with the kumkum of their breast and fell to the ground. And they could not say anything to Krishna, but simply stood there silently. By their silence, they expressed that their hearts were grievously wounded. The gopis were not ordinary women. In essence, they were on an equal level with Krishna. They are his eternal associates. As it is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, they are expansions of the pleasure potency of Krishna. And as his potency, they are non-different from him. Although they were depressed by the words of Krishna, they did not like to use harsh words against him. Yet they wanted to rebuke Krishna for his unkind words, and therefore they began to speak in faltering voices. They did not like to use harsh words against Krishna because he was their dearmost, their heart and soul. The gopis had only Krishna within their hearts. They were completely surrendered and dedicated souls. Naturally, when they heard such unkind words, they tried to reply, but in an attempt, torrents of rain fell from their eyes. Finally, they managed to speak.
Shri Sindhu?
Krishna, they said, you are very cruel. Should not talk like that. We are full-fledged, surrendered souls. Please accept us and don't talk in that cruel way. Of course, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and you can do whatever you like. But it is not worthy for a position to treat us in such a cruel way. We have come to you, leaving everything behind just to take shelter of your lotus feet. We know that you are completely independent and can do whatever you like. But we request you, don't reject us. We are your devotees. You should accept us as Lord Narayan accepts his devotees. There are many devotees of Lord Narayan who worship him for salvation, and he awards them salvation. Similarly, how can you reject us when we have no other shelter than your lotus feet? Oh dear Krishna, they continue, you are the supreme instructor. There's no doubt about it. Your instruction to the women to be faithful to their husbands and to be merciful to their children, to take care of homely affairs and to be obedient to the elderly members of the family are surely just according to the tenets of Shastras. But we know also that all these instructions of the Shastra may be observed perfectly by keeping oneself under the protection of your lotus feet. Our husbands, friends, family members, and children are all dear and pleasing to us only because of your presence. For you are the super soul of all living creatures. Without your presence, one is worthless. When you leave the body immediately dies. And according to the injunction of the Shastra, a dead body must immediately be thrown in a river or burned. Therefore, ultimately, you are the dearmost personality in this world. By placing our faith and love in your personality, there's no chance of our being bereft of husband, friends, sons, or daughters. If a woman accepts you as a supreme husband, then she will never be bereft of her husband, as in the bodily concept of life. If we accept you as our ultimate husband, then there's no question of being separated, divorced, or widowed. You are the eternal husband, eternal son, eternal friend, and eternal master. And one who enters into a relationship with you is eternally happy. Since you are the teacher of all religious principles, your lotus feet first have to be worshipped. Accordingly, the sastras state, Achaya Upasana, the worship of your lotus feet is the first principle. Besides that, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, you are the only enjoyer, you are the only proprietor, and you are the only friend. As such, we have come to you, leaving aside all so-called friends, society, and love, and now you have become our enjoyer. Let us everlastingly enjoyed by you. Be our proprietor, for that is your natural claim, and be our supreme friend, for you are naturally so. Let us thus embrace you as the supreme beloved.
Nandapatni?
Then the gopis told the lotus-eyed Krishna, please do not discourage our long-cherished desires to have you as our husband. Any intelligent man who cares for his own self-interest reposes all his loving spirit in you. Persons who are simply misled by the external energy, who want to be satisfied by false concepts, try to enjoy themselves apart from you. The so-called husband, friend, son, daughter, or father and mother are all simply sources of material misery. No one is made happy in this material world by having a so-called father, mother, husband, son, daughter, and friend. Although the father and mother are expected to protect the children, there are many children who are suffering for want of food and shelter. There are many good physicians, but when a patient dies, no physician can revive them. There are many means of protection, but when one is doomed, none of the protective measures can help. And without your protection, the so-called sources of protection simply become sources of continued distress. We therefore appeal to you, dear Lord of all lords, please do not kill our long-cherished desires to have you as our supreme husband. Dear Krishna, as women, we're certainly satisfied when our hearts are engaged in the activities of family affairs, but our hearts have already been stolen by you. We can no longer engage them in family affairs. Besides that, you're asking us repeatedly to return home. And that is very appropriate instruction, but unfortunately, we've been stunned here. Our legs have no power to move a step from your lotus feet. Therefore, if even at your request we return home, what shall we do there? We've lost all our capacity to act without you. Instead of engaging our hearts in family affairs as women, we've now developed a different type of lust, which is continually blazing in our hearts. We now request you, dear Krishna, to extinguish that fire with your beautiful smile and the transcendental vibration emanating from your lips. If you do not agree to do us this favor, we shall certainly be burned in the fire of separation. In that condition, we shall simply think of you and your beautiful features and give up our bodies immediately. In that way, we think it'll be possible for us to reside at your lotus feet in the next life. Dear Krishna, if you say that if we go home, if you say that if we go home, our respective husbands will satisfy the lusty flame of our desire, we can only say that that's no longer possible. You have given us a chance to be enjoyed by you in the forest and have touched our breast once in the past, which we accept as a blessing, as did the goddess of fortune, who are enjoyed in the Vaikuntha lokas by you, the goddesses of fortune. Since we have tasted this transcendental enjoyment, we are no longer interested in going to anyone but you for the satisfaction of our lust. Dear Krishna, the lotus feet of the goddess of fortune are always worshipped by the demigods, although she's always resting. on your chest in the Vaikuntha planets. She underwent great austerity and penance to have some shelter at your lotus feet, which are always covered by tulsi leaves. Your lotus feet are the proper shelter of your servitors, and the goddess of fortune, instead of abiding on your chest, comes down and worships your lotus feet. We have now placed ourselves under the dust of your feet. Please do not reject us, for we are fully surrendered souls.
Dear Krishna, you are known as Hari. You destroy all the miseries of all living entities, specifically of those who have left their homes and family attachment and have completely taken to you. We have left our homes with the hope that we shall completely devote and dedicate our lives to your service. We are simply begging to be engaged as your servants. We do not wish to ask you to accept us as your wives. Simply accept us as your maidservants. Since you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and like to enjoy the Parakiya Rasa and are famous as a transcendental woman hunter, we have come to satisfy your transcendental desires. We are also after our own satisfaction, for simply by looking at your smiling face, we have become very lusty. We have come before you decorated with all ornaments and dress. But until you embrace us, all our dresses and beautiful features remain incomplete. You are the Supreme Person, and if you complete our dressing attempt as the Purusha Bhushan, or the male ornament, then all our desires and bodily decorations are complete. Dear Krishna, we have simply been captivated by seeing you with tilak and with earrings, and by seeing your beautiful face covered with scattered hair and your extraordinary smile. Not only that, but we are also attracted by your arms, which always give assurance to the surrendered souls. And although we are also attracted by your chest, which is always embraced by the goddess of fortune, we do not wish to take her position. We shall simply be satisfied by being your maidservants. If you, however, accuse us of encouraging prostitution, then we can only ask, where is that woman within these three worlds who is not captivated by your beauty and the rhythmic songs vibrated by your transcendental flute? Within these three worlds, there is no distinction between men and women in relation to you, because both men and women belong to the marginal potency or prakriti. No one is actually the enjoyer or the male. Everyone is meant to be enjoyed by you. There is no woman within these three worlds who cannot but deviate from her path of chastity once she is attracted to you, because your beauty is so sublime that not only men and women, but cows, birds, beasts, and even trees, fruits and flowers, everyone and everything become enchanted. And what to speak of ourselves? It is, however, definitely decided that as Lord Vishnu is always protecting the demigods from the onslaughts of demons, so you have also advented in Vrindavan just to give the residents protection from all kinds of distress. Oh, dear friend of the distressed, kindly place your hand on our burning breasts as well as on our heads, because we have surrendered unto you as your eternal maidservants. If you think, however, that your lotus-like palms might be burned to ashes if placed on our burning breasts, let us assure you that your palms will feel pleasure instead of pain, as the lotus flower, although very delicate and soft, enjoys the scorching heat of the sun. Krishna Chandra.
Thank you. Upon hearing the anxious plea of the gopis, the Supreme Personality of Godhead began to smile, and being very kind to the gopis, the Lord, although self-sufficient, began to embrace them and kiss them as they had desired. When Krishna, smiling, looked at the faces of the gopis, the beauty of their faces became 100 times enhanced. When he was enjoying them in their midst, he appeared just like the full moon surrounded by millions of shining stars. Thus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead surrounded by hundreds of gopis and decorated with a flower garland of many colors, began to wander within the Vrindavan forest, sometimes singing to himself and sometimes singing with the gopis. In this way, both the Lord and the gopis reached the cool sandy bank of the Yamuna, where there were lilies and lotus flowers. In such a transcendental atmosphere, both the gopis and Krishna began to enjoy one another. While they were walking on the bank of the Yamuna, Krishna would sometimes put his arms around a gopi's head, breast, or waist, pinching one another and joking and looking at one another. They enjoyed. When Krishna touched the bodies of the gopis, their lust to embrace him increased. They all enjoyed these pastimes. Thus, the gopis were blessed with all the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for they enjoyed his company without a tinge of mundane sex life. The gopis, however, soon began to feel very proud, thinking themselves to be the most fortunate women in the universe by being favored by the company of Krishna. Lord Krishna, who is known as Keshava, could immediately understand their pride caused by their great fortune of enjoying him personally. And in order to show them his causeless mercy and to curb their false pride, he immediately disappeared from the scene, exhibiting his opulence of renunciation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always full with 6 kinds of opulences. And this is an instance of the opulence of renunciation. This renunciation confirms Krishna's total non-attachment. He is always self-sufficient and is not dependent on anything. This is the platform on which the transcendental pastimes are enacted. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 29th chapter of Krishna, the Rasa dance, introduction.
Jai. Any reflections from anyone? Welcome, Nitya Lila. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming all the way from Pakistan.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Nitalila, Dandavats, everyone.
Hare Krishna. Hare So, so one of the thoughts that came to me in our reading was where Srila Prabhupada was commenting how unscrupulous men entice women. It just brings to my mind when before I met the devotees and I was reading a Penguin Classic version of the Gita. I was 17 years old, and I met a representative of Guru Maharaji on the street, and he handed me a magazine where he had a mukut on his head, and he had all these ladies in a circle, and I was like trying to figure what that was all about. So I guess there's yogis in India that do a faux Rasa Lila. We have that pastime of Bhakti Vinod Thakur where there was this yogi and was it Jagannath Puri?
Yes,
and he was getting all the men's wives to come and dance with him, and Bhakti Vinod Thakur put him in jail, and he threatened to kill all of Bhakti Vinod Thakur's family. They even got sick because he cursed them. But Bhakti Vinod Thakur, what was his famous statement that he said? We shall all die or something, but we're going to chastise this.
Yeah, this rascal.
Yes. So of all that we read tonight, is there something that stood out for anybody? Any of the
There was something that stood out to me, and that was that, gosh, if you were walking along with Krishna and he was putting his arm around you, and it would be extremely difficult not to feel some pride. So I can see why they felt that way. I mean, how could you be low key about that? I mean, yeah.
Vedavati, is that you?
Yes,
Oh, Judge,
yes, it's me.
who did you bring with you?
I brought my friend Margie.
Hare Krishna, Margie.
I thought,
Hare Krishna, Margie.
Thank you for coming, Vedavati,
Krishna.
bringing your pal.
You're
with you.
welcome. Yeah,
Cool.
I thought I tried to get in when you were going to sing the Damodar Astakam, but I was a little late for that. So
It's okay.
I'll have to do it with her later.
Better late than never. So we were just discussing
Yeah.
some of the points that were read, and Nanda Patni was just commenting how if you were walking and Krishna put his arm around you, then you would tend to feel a little proud about that. You might
Yeah.
want to go and tell your girlfriends or your pals, right?
Yeah.
Nanda Patni, you had something more to say about that?
No, not really. It's just inconceivable. I'm trying to imagine what the sentiment could be if it wasn't feeling a bit proud.
There are many discussions by our acharyas on this point and many different reasons. In some instances, the gopis that were feeling proud are the newcomers. And so he wanted to eradicate any sign that will impede the pure exchange. And also he wanted to proclaim that Radharani is the supreme. So, and they were thinking that Krishna was just with them and he wasn't with the other. They had no idea he was with the other gopis. But I was really hit with how when Krishna spoke those words to them, how crushed, I can't imagine, their hearts were shattered.
Yeah. There is, in this passage, there's 5 chapters. We're reading one of them. Excuse me. And
what are they called? The Pancha something?
Panchadaya.
Rasa Panchadhyaya. Sri Rasa Panchadhyaya. It's these 5 chapters of Ras.
Panchadhyaya. Panchadhyaya.
Yeah, Panchadhyaya. And we're coming into now the supreme, the pinnacle of attainment of love and the highest devotees. So this has to be they say Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, said that nobody should read these things, nobody should know about these things, but that was for public in general. And I read the article in The Harmonist by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati where he says, yes, the rascals have to be exposed, that we shouldn't allow such a noble and pristine, pure Shastra to be approached by common men that will confuse these amorous exchanges for regular lust. But so when we first read this, the first chapter is Rasa dance, and Bhakti Sarup Siddhar Maharaj was a scholar, Sanskrit scholar. I think he's number 2 in India. So he was saying, "Oh, look, in this at the beginning, this in the Rasa dance, when he leaves, when the gopis are proud, but just before that, he kind of blends in with the gopis. It's like kotis, 1 million times, so it's at least 1 billion gopis, and Krishna kind of blends in with the rest of them, disappears for a minute." So Sukadev Goswami is mad at him. He gets angry and he calls him by his Kshatriya lineage name, because see, there were 2. Krishna's grandfather was Parjanya. Parjanya means cloud, and he was the son. In his ancestry, there's this man, this king that had 2 wives. One was from the Vaishya community, and the other one from the Kshatriya community. From the Kshatriya one had Ugrasena, The other one was Parjanya. And Ugrasena we see the lineage from.
So Vasudeva and Nanda Maharaj were cousin brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So Sukadeva is upset on the way Krishna is treating the gopis. See, he as devotees get higher and higher, they will take the side of Krishna, of Radhe, the side of the gopis, not the side of Krishna. So Sukadeva Goswami, he's the parrot of Radharani. That's his Swamini. His master is Radhe. So that's why some people say, oh, and Radharani is something invented. She's never mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. She is in an indirect way. It's called the Gopi said.
One Gopi.
One Gopi says, and that's Radhe. So Sukadeva Goswami, being so absorbed in Prem, he now is addressing a huge crowd of all levels of yogis and sadhus and devotees. So he's not able, if he would have, and he has emergency there, the Parikshit Maharaj only has 7 days. So he better give him, he wants to give him the essence, something the topmost thing. And so he never mentions Radha's name. If he would have had mentioned Radha's name, excuse me, according to Acharyas, he would have had faint, going in ecstasy, and
He couldn't have
maybe
continued.
7 days would have gone by, and most of the sages there, they don't know what to do, probably. Whereas you can see in the Lord Chaitanya's, which is Krishna himself that came with all his entourage. He's surrounded by these gopis. Swarup Damodar, Roy Ramananda, Lalita and Vishaka. You had Rupa Goswami as Rupa Manjari. So he's surrounded by them. So whenever the Lord enters ecstasy, which he tries to actually learn in this incarnation from Gadadhar, he would every day go and listen to Srimad Bhagavatam and Aitota. Aitota is the garden where Tota Gopinath was discovered. Actually, Lord Chaitanya gave him to say, I have a gift for you, Gadadhar. So anyhow, he would hear from Gadadhar, who is none other than Radharani, about Srimad Bhagavatam. So when we read this, I mean, we're very fortunate. According to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he wanted a true explanation of this pastimes by a pure devotee. So Prabhupada did that. He gave us Krishna book, and it's very, very high. Not many people can understand it, but he brings us there gradually. And sometimes, almost like, wow, this really could be confused as an amorous pastime. And other acharyas are saying there is nothing wrong with it, since it's God enjoying himself. He expands, and then she expands again, as his view has, only to give pleasure to Krishna. So.
Thank you very much, Nihari Prabhu.
Oh, you're welcome.
I've prepared the Sri Upadesamrta by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, and I thought maybe each evening we could squeeze both of them in, saying why not?
Yes.
Baba Trini is very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
So Nitya Lila, are you familiar who Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami is?
Yeah, he's godbrother of Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, he lived with Srila Prabhupada for 12 years. Prabhupada provided him with a facility. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told our Srila Prabhupada to please facilitate Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj to go out for preaching programs, because Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj called himself an ease-loving devotee. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was so pleased with his command of our Gaudiya Siddhanta, he wanted our Prabhupada to get him out there so other people would benefit. So I thought tonight, in following that instruction of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, I would help Srila Prabhupada to put Srila Bhakti Rakshakshara Maharaj out there.
Yeah. Prabhupada mentions that there are two godbrothers that he considered his Shiksha Gurudev. You know what Shiksha Gurudev means? What is it? Okay. So, and the principal one was Bhakti Rakshakshara Dev Goswami Maharaj, and the other dear godbrother was Bhakti Pragyan Kesava Maharaj, whom Prabhupada took sannyas from. So when his spiritual masters, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's society had broken up, fraction, and so many disputes, Prabhupada, all the his godbrothers left. And that's the period of time when Bhakti Sridhar Maharaj goes to live with Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada wanted to establish a new society with him as the head of it. So Srila Prabhupada asked us to take advice from him, take shelter of him. And actually, Achyutananda Prabhu tells the stories, and one of the things in 68, 67, 68, for 1 year, Prabhupada took him to Saraswati Mat. Saraswati Gaudiya Mat is a mission that established by Sridhar Maharaj.
Actually, it was established with our Srila Prabhupada, Sridhar Maharaj, and one other godbrother.
Prabhupada was like
Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat.
One of the founders of that group, and also the Keshavaji Gaudiya Mat, headed by Devananda Gaudiya, headed by Bhakti
So actually, Srila Prabhupada was a co-founder of two of the societies after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Oh, there it is, Upadesamrta.
So we did not hear a little bit later. Vedavati, would you like to begin our reading here? We're usually reading 2 paragraphs each. Upadesamrta by Srila Rupa Goswami, with illumination by Srila B.R. Sridhardev Goswami. We finished reading Srila Prabhupada's first verse, commentary on this, and so now we're going to include this. Jagat Guru Swami, or Narasingha Maharaj, he helped to compile this, edited by Narasingha Maharaj. Tridandi Swami Vishnu Maharaj, he used to be our godbrother known as Bhavananda Roy. Tridandi B.S. Madhava Maharaj, I'm not sure who that is. And so here are the verses. There's 11 verses. And
you want me to read 2 paragraphs?
Yeah, Vedavati, if you'd like to.
Sure, thank you.
Again, yeah, and then after that, Nitya Lila hasn't read this evening, so.
Nuri Hari hasn't read. Nuri Hari hasn't read.
Right. So you know this verse, Vedavati, I'm sure you've repeated it before.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to do the Sanskrit too?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam jiva vegam udarupashta vegam etan veganyo vishaheta dira sarvam apimam ritivim sashishat. A self-controlled person who can overcome the impulses of speech, the mind, anger, the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to instruct the whole world. Illumination. One time, our Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, arranged to preach in Vrindavan for the full month of Kartik. He chose to speak from the basic teachings of the Upadesamrta of Srila Rupa Goswami. His attention was always focused on the basics because he felt that the fruits of devotion will come naturally. Pour water onto the root and the fruit will come by itself. Upadesamrita contains the substance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings in the language of Srila Rupa Goswami. These 11 verses of Upadesamrita were inspired by the advice of Mahaprabhu, and Rupa Goswami put that advice into poetic language.
Lila, would you like to continue? When it says Guru Maharaj himself spoke, who do you think he's talking about here?
Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Guru Maharaja himself spoke for several days on the boundary line between Radha Kunda and Shama Kunda. He read and explained the Upadesamrta. Srila Prabhupada explained Upadesamrta and nothing of Govinda Lila Amrita or Vishwanatha Chakravarti Sri Krishna Bhava Amrita. The higher topics of Madhurya Lila, Radha Krishna's amorous pastimes were left aside. His attitude was, people are ripe in sahajya, imitation of devotion. Just try to make them understand, to enter the plan of bhakti. That is so great. What to speak of Krishna Leela, that is far, far, far above. These were his words. Pujalla Raga Patha Kaurava Bange. The whole sphere is taken as respectable distance on the head. Go on working in the lower level to show proper respect to the highest thing. Don't venture to enter, full rush and where angels fear to trade. With this idea, he dealt everywhere, the impulse of speech and the mind. Vacho Vegam means the urge to speak. One is habituated to speak too much. That tendency to speak is always there, whether it is good or bad. There is no time to discriminate, always talking and talking. I may speak anything and everything and then later repent. Why did I say like this? I should not have said such thing only to pain the hearts of others. When the force comes from within, to say something, we cannot control it. I am straightforward. I can say anything and everything to anyone and everyone. I may even abuse a sadhu. This should not be. We must try to control our forces coming from within in the form of speech.
Hari Prabhu. Hari Prabhu.
Sorry, I have the mic off. Manasa means mental waves. Sometimes the rush of samadhiya may overtake me and manipulate me. It is very difficult to control the mind. The mind may be absent. We may engage our body, but I may think something bad. To control the mind, some responsibility is necessary. We must accept responsible actions and service. Then we can control the mind. Otherwise, the mind is independent. It may run hither and thither. We must take some responsibility to control the mind by engaging it in the service of Krishna and his servants. It is difficult to control the inner mind, but when we preach to others, we cannot but be all conscious. We cannot talk irrelevantly. We can easily have concentration when we talk about Krishna, that is kirtan. I may begin with some japa, but my mind wanders here and there and everywhere. But when I am engaged in kirtan, I must be fully attentive. In that way, we can control the mind, which is very difficult to capture and to utilize. If you can stop scrolling for a second. Oshta spandana matrena kirtanam tu tato varam. Simply by moving the lips to chant the Lord's holy name, one can attain the greatest benefit. Hari Bhakti Vilas 11:453.
Special stress has been put on kirtan by Mahaprabhu. Kirtan means to preach. The environment is prepared to attack me. I should rather take up the offensive than the defensive. I shall attack the environment. Kirtan means to take the offensive. The whole environment is surcharged with the offensive spirit. They are coming and attacking me from different directions through different ideas that are like spies that are already within us. They're agents. I shall take the offensive and attack the environment with the power that I have received from my Guru Maharaj. That means kirtan. That means preaching. This is what we are told by our Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Preaching means to attack the environment, not to lie down passively and allow others to take the position. Japa is very feeble, a weak thing. You will begin your japa, and when you are aware, you will find that your mind is marketing in some other. But when you are talking about Krishna to others, you will be fully attentive. That is automatic attention. Therefore, you can control the mind by preaching. Baba Trini, would you like to see comments on this? This is a really powerful paragraph, isn't it?
I've never read anything like this before. It's so true. It's and the words of marketing somewhere else. Yes. Yes.
So, yeah,
Especially in this Kali Yuga, it's a time, especially in the last few years, marketing has become, it's like everybody's marketing something.
everything's marketing. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because Sridhar Maharaj, I get Vrindavan Vilasini, our god sister, she sends us excerpts and like that from, of course, Srila Prabhupada and then Sridhar Maharaj and some of the prominent acharyas in our line.
Yeah.
And Sridhar Maharaj always speaks that the environment is favorable.
Right.
So this is different.
Even when it's attacking us. And then I could now put the idea together. I say, oh, well, what do you do? You're passive? No, he gives us, you attack it, but you attack it with kirtan. So that's a perfect solution. We try to traverse it in any other way. We are in the duality world, so it's just going to be like that. It's like a political solution to something that it requires a transcendental one, which is Sankirtan. And the other thing is that just saw how prominent. Why is it Lord Chaitanya loved the devotees who had no deities, that had the holy name in their tongues all the time? They were akinchana. They don't need anything. They don't want anything. They didn't have anything except the holy name. And I remember then one time I can't remember now, but even probably somewhere I had to find it. But it was saying that during Kirtan, Harinam Sankirtan, our egos it's just, there's no time to start thinking, oh, I'm this, I'm that, or, what respect. We're all together, we're chanting. And so this Harinam Sankirtan is wonderful. He talks about the feeble japa. It's true. I mean, we're chanting and our minds go many places, and we have to bring it back and chat. But in Sankirtan, it's the portal. That's another article by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati.
It's a portal. Did you say it's a portal?
It's a portal.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, it's the way to truly enter the pastimes of Sri Krishna. That's our goal, isn't it? To go where Krishna is, where all the devotees, superior devotees, gopis, and like that, go to Braja. And so how do we enter that? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explained, many confuse it thinking that, well, I'll do like the 6 Goswamis, and that is a misinformation. But let's say I just sit in one place and read. I say misinformation because they were very active, very, very active. And Rupa Goswami couldn't chant too many rounds because he chant one round or just one name, and he will enter samadhi. He will leave now with the spiritual body, enter
he would start
Lila
serving
and start serving the divine couple. And so Saraswati Thakur, he writes that it's not through the solitary chanting of the holy name that we will enter these pastimes. It's through Harinam Sankirtan.
Wow.
Oh.
I thought that was pretty far out. But we can't
So there's no hope for me then if I'm here all alone. I have to go on.
No. Prabhupada said devotees will coming back in New York, Second Temple. And this Madhusana Prabhu, I don't know if he's here today, but he will probably testify to it. They will come back after a while. And I remember how it was after a year of going out every day, chanting, and people, they got accustomed to us. Then it seems like they didn't pay attention any longer and like that, and we were all alone. But Prabhupada said, no, it doesn't matter, because there is, in the environment, we have living entities all around us, so we can help him. And that's what makes Lord Chaitanya happy. So that's what will give us bliss. That's what will open the doors to enter the spiritual world. It's through Harinam Sankirtan. Why? Because we're selfless there, truly selfless. And we can chant japa to ourselves and we'll be attaining some benefit. There's no doubt about it. But when we try to benefit others, then we please all the way up to Lord Chaitanya.
But you read a verse where it said just using your lips to say the holy name is the highest benefit.
Yeah.
But also he's discussing that just that preaching to others, not just chanting, and engaging in them and telling them something is more. And what did it say? It said that by doing that, your mind doesn't wander.
That's the mind, yeah.
Yes.
So
You're
how do you
engaging.
square that, as it were, in our lineage with the great revered Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who of course was a Babaji? So that seems like the antithesis, but maybe that's opening up too much of the discussion. But it is kind of interesting that he is in our lineage. Yeah.
We just heard a lot
just
about
said
it.
yesterday.
Yes.
His parents. But
Yeah.
he wrote a song about Radha.
Yes.
He and Tridandi Maharaj was saying how he was so loud that
They could hear him coming.
Actually, was Manjari. She read.
Manjari, he was so loud that when he was chanting, you could hear him in other places. And he would
across the Ganga.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you ever been, all of you, some of you might have been in the Ganges almost at the delta. That's where Mayapur is. There's 9 islands. So it's pretty wide, and there's water. So as a musician, it might work actually, but he could be heard across on the other side of the Ganga, on the other shore. So he was doing Sankirtan, and he spoke to people.
He must have been roaring her,
Yes.
He would go all over singing that song. Right.
I think one time too, he would Bhaktivinoda Thakur knew he was coming because he was so loud in his japa and chanting, walking towards to meet him, doing japa. And to meet Bhaktivinoda Thakur to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, he would hear Bhagavatam from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He's exemplary, we are not Tyagis and we're not Bogis.
Yeah, we're not living under a boat.
Yeah, they sit in abandoned, broken boats.
Yeah.
And I read too that he would eat. He found a skull, and that was his bowl to eat.
Like the Tibetans.
Yeah. And one time he saw a wedding procession, and he said, "Oh," and he looked at he would talk to his mind and looked at, it's a reflection. I don't know who heard it, and then now we hear it. That he said, "Oh, you want to enjoy it? Okay, come, let's go. I'll give you some sweet balls." So he made balls of the
Ganga clay
and put neem leaves, and he ate that. You want to enjoy? Here you go. So these are not to be.
Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji ate the Ganga clay with neem in it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those were his sweet balls.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he did that also. And I heard devotees were talking, Tridandi Maharaj and everybody. I mean, it was amazing that he started that in Vrindavan. He would go to every single place, all pilgrimage, always out loud, crying and calling out, "Where are you? Where are you? Where are you?"
Radhe, Radhe, Radhe.
Yeah, he has a beautiful song.
Like he shows,
I read that he said, if you want to become Krishna conscious, then you take something like 7 pice, and you go to the marketplace and you buy the book by Narottam Das Thakur, which is the song Shri Guru Charana Patna. What's the name of it?
What is it? Pratana and the Deepika, the Chintamani. He had just those 2 books.
Yes, there are 2 books.
Yeah.
And then we cannot make laws, although they're important guidelines by which we can learn. Because they asked, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would ask, what is the most important book? And he said, if the entire universe is destroyed, I will float, if I could float in the water and keep to my chest, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Everything is there. Everything is there. So, Bhagavatam, I mean, it's the conclusion. That's what Prabhupada used to call it. The PhD, it's a postgraduate study of Shastra.
Who said that? Gorky Shordas Babaji?
No.
Oh, the Prabhupada said our Prabhupada said that it's the postgraduate study,
Look what you
the
read
Chaitanya
now.
Charitamrita.
The impulsive anger.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Krishna
I'm an
Prabhu,
example of not.
why, Krishna Chandra, why don't we just read one paragraph each? Because we have about eight devotees here, and not everyone's going to get a chance to read. So can you just read a paragraph and the Sanskrit, if you like?
Yes, absolutely. Then there is Krodha Vegam. Krodha means anger. When anger comes, it creates a disaster, and a reaction is inevitable. We must try to check that sort of flow of the mind toward anger. We shall not try for that, but what we shall have, we shall try to utilize it for the service of Krishna. Yad karoshi yad ashnasi, yad juhoshi dadasiyat, yad tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva mad arpanam.
Just read the translation.
Oh, yes, thank you. O Kaunteya, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer in sacrifice, whatever you give in charity, whatever penances you may undertake, do that as an offering unto me.
Interesting. So he's using this verse to point out whatever anger you have, do it as an offering unto me. Oh, so Baba Trini and Hari, it's your turn now. One paragraph each, if you can.
Okay. Good or bad, whatever is within you, that must be thrown away for the object of Krishna's service. It may be adjusted in this way. I've got anger, and that anger should be utilized in favor of the service of the Lord. Krodha Bhakta Devshi Jane. Whoever comes to attack the devotees, I will use my anger against him. We make the best of a bad bargain. So many tendencies are in my mind, and when I want to transform them wholesale within my mental system, I shall try to adjust them in connection with divine service. I shall try to utilize them in that stage.
In some stages, it may seem that a devotee becomes angry by even a little cause, but that anger should not be classified as ordinary anger. This anger will do good to the person with whom he is angry. It is for the well-being of the man with whom he is angry. They cannot be judged independently. Mahaprabhu was angry sometimes. When Mahaprabhu was going on with Kirtan, they closed the door and one brahmachari who was only drinking milk and nothing else wanted to enter. He thought that I must be considered to be purest because I drink only milk, nothing else. Why have they closed the door on me? Then at last, when the door was open and he asked why the door was closed to him, Mahaprabhu replied, simply drinking milk is no qualification. The real qualification is Krishna consciousness.
I think it's Nandapatni's turn now.
This has been seen many times. There was some misbehavior done against Srivas Pandit. A tantrika placed some wine and other things at the door of Srivas's house at night in order to ridicule him. Srivas Pandit opened the door and saw the wine, meat, and other nasty things. Then he went to his neighbors and said, please see how I am a tantrika. Every night, with the help of this meat and wine, I worship Goddess Kali. Then those gentlemen felt very disturbed. Who is the rogue who has done this thing? When Mahaprabhu was informed, he was very much enraged and said, that man will have to suffer. Later, that man, whose name was Chapala Gopala, got leprosy. Sometimes in this world, some anger is shown by the incarnation of God himself and some devotees also. But that is not harmful. It is for the good of the person. The excitement found in a devotee should not be taken as ordinary.
Vedavati.
We have to quarrel. Sometimes we may have to engage in litigation. Sometimes there are differences in our relations concerning the proper meaning of the particular mantras of the scriptures or a particular point. There may be differences in discussions. It is not undesirable. Sometimes it is necessary.
What is your friend's name, Vedavati?
Her name is Margie.
Margie, does Margie want to read also, or is she only listening?
Do you want to read something?
I don't see very well.
Oh, okay.
The print's a little fine.
The
Okay,
print
so
is
she-
small. We're trying to make it bigger.
She's listening then.
Yeah,
Yes,
she's
I am.
listening.
Okay, so Nitya Lila, your turn, and then Shuddha Sindhu, and then we have Rasangi here. Nitya Lila, generally?
Yeah, generally we are to think that we are not in a perfect condition. Our differences will be due to our realization, our degree of realization. Everything varies, but differences amongst the main principle is deplorable and will cause disturbance to the newcomers. It is a great catastrophe for the newcomers. They have come with open faith for a very mild standard. Their faith is not so high, not so intense that they will be able to tolerate many things which seems to be like discord. The difficulty is with them whenever such things are happening. Generally, the Madhyama Adhikari Vaishnava should try to keep the beginning outside. They should not be allowed to enter into these discussions and defenses, the quarrel, litigation, and all these things. This is only reserved for the Madhyama Adhikaris. It is undesirable for the beginners to see the differences between the higher personalities, whom we consider to be upper rank. When they observe such quarreling, the lower class cannot but be disturbed. Try to avoid this as much as possible. At that time, they may give their attraction towards the scriptures. There is less quarreling. But in the scriptures, there is also quarreling because the recommended advice is for different stages. Progress means quarrel, elimination and acceptance. That one condemns another, progress means such. We can't avoid it altogether, but still progress is there. We must not be afraid. Gaurav
Okay,
Prabhu,
I have to stop there because there's just too much to digest here to keep rushing forward. You know what I'm saying? I just like to make a few comments, if I may. And that is, I'm taking notes here as we go. Okay, let me get my glasses here so I can see my own writing because it's totally dark here right now. All right. I noticed that okay, yes, using anger when people come to attack devotees. So I was thinking of the example of Jayananda. Oh, wow, Shikarani's making one of her rare appearances. Wow, after a long leave of absence. Welcome back. Yeah, so I remember reading about Jayananda Prabhu, who's sometimes called ISKCON's first saint, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj said at one point, he was the most advanced devotee in all of ISKCON. He was the first to start the Rath Yatra under Prabhupada's guidance, and just an amazing, amazing devotee. Anyway.
Prabhupada say we can call him Thakur.
Thakur, yeah. So I was reading one story where devotees were on Harinam with Jayananda Prabhu, and I'm not sure if he was playing the mridanga at that time, but there was this kind of a gunda, you know, like a Harley Davidson kind of guy. I mean, I don't want to say Harley Davidson, but I mean, you know, like a roughneck. And he came to attack the devotees, and Jayananda yelled at him. He said, "Just chant Hare Krishna." just chant Hare Krishna, and chase the the roughneck away.
I don't know if you ever met him, but Jayananda was very tall. And his hands were like, you don't want to mess with him.
No.
Not at all. And so it was so imposing. So
yeah, one thing I found interesting in what was just read was that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed his anger at the Brahmin who was puffed up because he was thinking, because they were having these intimate nocturnal kirtans in the home of Srivas Thakur. Whenever I go to Mayapur, I always like going to Srivas Angan, which is just next door to our Mayapur temple. If you go up the road there, and I feel very special being there, knowing that this was the place where Mahaprabhu did kirtan all night long. And I don't know how many devotees. I think there was just a handful of devotees that attended these.
Well, at the beginning, yes, it was at Srivas Angan.
Right. But this Brahmin, he snuck in, thinking that his qualification was that he only drank milk, and so he was very austere milk drinker. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I feel there's something like wrong in the room here right now. There's like.
Oh, he didn't enter. That Brahmin didn't enter. It was a woman, an older devotee that got in, snuck in.
Okay, I'm confused right now. I thought it was the milk drinker that snuck in.
No, the milk drinker stayed outside, but he was all indignant. So when the doors opened again, he said, "Why, I didn't let me in?" And he said, "Well, if you think that I'm pure because you just drink milk,
Right." So we see the Lord Chaitanya gets angry when devotees get puffed up. He doesn't like that.
Yeah, I have a story about Prabhupada on that, and maybe Siddhanta was here. My brother-in-law, Hanuman, he was in 71, was in the Kumbh Mela, and with Srila Prabhupada, they were in the Pandal, and this man jumped up, he came to attack the devotees. They didn't, at that time, they had Jutananda, he might remember, was playing kirtan. Anyhow, this man proceeded about to attack the devotees of Prabhupada. I don't know, he just pushed this man, flew him out of the stage, just took him out. And Prabhupada was in a big stature, but the strength was, of course, transcendental, extraordinary.
Hanuman pushed the man out, or Prabhupada?
No. Hanuman told me, he was witness, and many other devotees later on, I found out that they were witness, like Keshava, they were witness to Prabhupada's anger in defending the devotees. They were about to get hit. I don't know if this man had a bottle, whatever he had, he was just coming to attack, to hurt the devotees. So Prabhupada reacted. He was faster than anybody around. They were all like, wow.
I heard a similar story. Maybe it's the same story where Prabhupada had kartals, and I think he was using the kartals like a Sudarshan chakra.
Like a namcha.
Yeah.
Right. Like
with Hanuman, we had that actually. It happened many times in our Harinam. When we go out in the streets, you never know what we're going to find. And of course, it was not only just regular people would just gather around us. We were such a novelty. But one time we were, Bhaktadasi, my sister, was right next to me, and we're in a line. It was 4 of us, and Hanuman, I think, was in one end, the other end. And this man came out of the bar, and outside there was a crowd of maybe 20, 30 people, all just transfigured, it was just like stunned, hearing the Harinam. They loved it. Anyhow, so this man comes out drunk, and he has a bottle, and he's about to hit my sister, Bhaktadasi, with it. But as he's like this, Hanuman flew from the side with the pearl kartals. He knocked him, and the man fell. And the people reaction said, well, what are they going to think? Because people think, oh, you're a spiritual person, you should be peaceful, shanti, non-violence, like that. Prabhupada said, no, we're no pacifists. So the entire crowd stopped and applauded Hanuman. It was like, right, please go on, go. So
I was put in a position similar. The corner of Dundas and Young is the downtown core of Toronto. I don't know, Toronto's 4 or 5 million people, whatever it is. It's probably the biggest city in Canada. And the Eaton Center, the corner of Dundas and Yonge, is the main place. So when I was doing the Bhakta program and trying to recruit new devotees back in the 1980s, I would go there, right to that corner. I'd bring a changing body exhibit with me. I'd bring the bad karma exhibit with me. And I got the idea to put the harmonium on a stand-up a keyboard stand so that I could do Harinam playing the harmonium while dancing at the same time,
Nice.
because it was a heavy harmonium, wasn't something you could dance with, right? And
That's
so
so
I had
cool.
I had Mridanga player there and and a couple kartal players there, and so we were doing kirtan and we had a book table there, and little did I know, later I joined Krishna Fest and it would be the same kind of program. But anyway, a crowd of people started coming. But what happened is that these two really greasy looking guys with black leather jackets came and they started lighting matches, and they were throwing the matches into my harmonium. And while in the middle of the kirtan, and I didn't want to stop the kirtan because we were cooking it up and we had a good, but as people saw that these two thugs were trying to get our goat, the crowd got bigger and bigger. And these guys kept lighting matches and throwing them from where they were into the harmonium. And I was really feeling agitated. And I don't really know how to fight, but I was just like, I was feeling some violence rising up inside me, but I thought, no, Gora, you're being watched by all these people. Plus, I could never beat that guy physically. And, I've never done that. But I was really feeling put on the spot because the crowd was getting bigger and bigger. Everyone was watching me. Like, what was I going to do? And I was praying to Krishna, even though I was chanting Hare Krishna in my heart. I was wondering, Krishna, how do I resolve this situation? Like, how do I deal with this? And then one little lady came out of the crowd with an umbrella and she started smashing these guys on the head. And she said, leave them alone. They're nice people. Leave them alone. Get out of here.
Oh,
and I was a little old lady. That was amazing. Yeah. Krishna inspired this old Mataji. She looked like she was in her 70s or something. And she wasn't as scared of these bikers. They looked like bikers, big guys with leather jackets, long hair. So that was interesting.
Yeah. Our generation was very much peace, love, about that. And so I don't know if you met Keshava, Karandar's brother.
No, I heard about him. Yeah, I think he was a former biker.
Yeah, he came to Argentina in '73.
Keshava was the president of the San Francisco Temple. What, 1970?
Yes, he was with Buddhimanta. With Buddhimanta, he was the first distributor of Krishna books, door to door.
Wow!
They decided one day they just went door to door with Krishna book.
So what were you going to say?
Although Prabhupada said, "Who was the first one?" He said, "Actually, it was Jayananda Prabhu."
Oh.
But Keshava then took it. It was anyhow. Keshava, it was all like our youth movement. He said, "I was all for peace and love. I just I joined the movement." But pretty soon after that, and sometime we had the San Francisco Temple was in Valencia Street. It was a Valencia and Mission. Patronis. And I remember I was there. There were some extraordinary pastimes there, but the neighborhood was really bad. I mean, really bad. And so devotees are there, Hirananda Maharaj and a few other devotees, about 5 of them. Keshava is at one end, and then this bikers, drunk, they were coming to really beat the devotees. So they were headed by one particular one. So Keshava told me, he said, I don't know where Hari just this came, but I just jumped and I hit them and so hard that all the others got really scared. And he tumbled, he fell off. I mean, I could be a little more graphic, but no need. And all the other devotees were like, what can we do? But I said, Keshava said, so here I am, a peace-loving ex-hippie, now in the movement engage as a Kshatriya. It was his natural tendency. His brother too, Karandar, was very good boxer.
They both had
Karandar is not very tall.
Kshatriya qualities, right?
Yes, yes. So he was extraordinary. He was so accurate. He in 2 punches.
Freeze.
Rasangi Haribol.
Oh, Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Sangi, what were you saying?
I thought he froze. I was listening to his talk.
Oh, okay. And so, yeah, I mean, living in Los Angeles, Karandar was not only our GVC, but he was temple president too, I believe. Anyhow, his offices were there. But he was always ready. So, and there were people who come and want to attack. And he could take care of them pretty quickly. So that's the different.
I don't know if they were in the Marines or not. They might have been in the military forces. I don't know.
Kesava went back to and joined for them. And then when he came out, he brought his knowledge on organization. And
Martial
so he
arts.
organized, I'm sorry?
He was big in martial arts too.
He was very big in martial arts. We're together, you know, there was a group of us that would go to Douglas Wong, which was the most famous White Lotus method of Kung Fu. And but Kesava was versed in different styles, like Kali from the Philippines, very known, very dangerous styles of fighting. And
after he became a devotee, he joined that. He joined the military after he became.
Yeah. So after he became a devotee, he joined the military for 1 year or something like that.
Wow.
He came out and he came looking for me. I was in San Diego at that time. And it was right after Prabhupada came and stayed with us, with my first wife and I. And Kesava said, let's go. Do you want, you know, we can collect for Mayapur and Vrindavan Chandra. And we go all across the nation. And I have all this organized. So he went and bought with Gargamuni Swami 5 vans and equipped them all with CB radios. You know, I'm sorry, what?
Was that for the mainland?
In the mainland of the US.
I have a whenever you're done, I have a question. I'm just waiting.
So anyhow, I'm sorry. I deviated into what Keshav, I was just trying to explain that. So yeah, I saw devotees. It was funny. Prior to becoming a devotee, I didn't know what anger. I thought it was a really bad quality.
Right.
And violence, it was pretty bad. And we were all anti-war and like that. So it was very different. And the other day, I had the letters for you, Gaurav, probably after this session.
Okay.
I had some letters that they're gonna blow your mind.
Okay, thank you. I need to have my mind blown.
But yeah, there's a song. This reminds me. There's a song describing the character of Nityananda Prabhu. Is it never angry? What was it? Remember? Always happy, never angry. Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Prabhu.
Akrodananda Paramananda, Akrodananda Nityananda Ram. Yeah.
Nityananda Ram.
Yeah.
So, but so people say, what is this? You know, he does get angry. And, he kicked Shivananda Sena because he was late. He didn't bring him accommodations and food. So when we hear this, if some human would do that, it would consider some megalomaniac. So, but God has the right. He's the supreme enjoyer, like we were reading about the gopis before, and how they said he is the supreme enjoyer. And then so we read about Nityananda, how he can display this. But devotees do too.
I'd just like to ask Nitya Lila, if you don't mind, are you still there, Nitya Lila? I can't tell.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, when you're reading, because I know you're an MD, a full-blown doctor, and in order to do that, you probably had to really cram a lot of information, and you're a really fast reader. And when you were reading through all this nectar, sparks were coming out of my ears. I couldn't keep up with it all because it was such deep subject matter, and you were just, it's not a criticism of you. I'm just saying, because I'm so dull and slow, for my sake, you have to slow it down so that, because I was trying to take notes and I was trying to at the same time listen to you, and I couldn't keep up. But one of the points that came up in, I think it was in your reading, that maybe Baba Termini, or actually any of my older godbrothers or god sisters here, any of you, it's describing that Srivas Thakur, he was being framed, basically. I remember from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, I think Gopal Chapal, I think was his name, and he wanted to make Srivas Thakur look like a tantric, like someone in the mode of ignorance, worshiping Kali. And what I'm trying to understand is that Srivas Thakur goes out and he says to the people in his village, in his town, just look what a tantric I am. Just like he was actually blaming himself and saying, look how low class I am. So I'm trying to understand, the esoteric meaning. I mean, we're supposed to be humble, but I mean, this is like going beyond being humble, because he's actually, he's identifying with all the Kali Puja material, and like, I'm not quite getting that. Can anyone enlighten me, please?
It's explained
It's
explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Yeah, in Chaitanya Charitamrita it's explained. But I just relaying. I don't know if you can hear it.
Yes, I hear.
Yeah, but I don't remember what the explanation was.
I'll have to look it up.
He was doing it he didn't want people to try to come to their kirtans and try to take part. So he was taking advantage.
I see.
of fame.
Do you understand? Do you understand that, Shuddha Sindhu? Do you understand that, Sikarani? Do you understand that, Nitya Lila? The point that was just being, could you hear Bhavatrini? She's on the other side of
No, I can't hear her.
Can you tell him?
Okay, can you go back again? What the question is? What it?
Okay, so Nitya Lila, let me actually just go right directly to the quote itself, just so everyone can understand what I'm talking about. All right, or maybe it wasn't even, okay, here it is. Srivas Thakur opened the door. Okay, I'll even have to go back even further. There was some misbehavior done against Srivas Pandit. A tantrika placed some wine and other things at the door of Srivas's house at night in order to ridicule him, like to make him look bad. Frame him, I guess is the right term. Srivas Pandit opened the door and saw wine, meat, and other nasty things. Then he went to his neighbors and said, please see how I'm a tantric. Every night, with the help of this meat and wine, I worship goddess Kali. Then those gentlemen felt very disturbed. Who is the rogue who has done this thing? In other words, they didn't believe him. When Mahaprabhu was informed, he was very much enraged and said, that man will have to suffer. Later, that man, whose name was Chapal Gopal, got leprosy. Sometimes in this world, some anger is shown by the incarnation of God himself and some devotees also, but that is not harmful. It is for the good of the person. The excitement found in a devotee should not be taken as ordinary. So, I mean, the thought just came to me now that maybe Chaitanya Mahaprabhu caused this pastime to happen to maybe show, I don't want to speculate here, but to show how humble Srivas Thakur was. There's some inner meaning.
One thing it says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhatrini was saying, explained that the Lord won't take offenses to him. He won't take him as serious as offenses to his devotees. He'll do anything to. So when the story continues, so Chapal Gopal, he went to one side of the Ganga, a remote part. I believe probably was Kola Dweep. Kola meaning the boar incarnation of the Lord. And he is a place that, per excellence, everything is forgiven. It's a place of compassion. So Chapal Gopal, when he sees Lord Chaitanya going by, he says, please, you are the helpful of the most fallen. I am the most fallen, and help me, save me. And Lord Chaitanya said, no, you're an offender to the Vaishnavas. I won't do this for you. Suffer. So he had to suffer for a while. Then he was forgiven later on. But the way he's forgiven is because he's forgiven by the Vaishnavas.
But the point I was saying is
And Bhatrini was saying that
Srivas was taking advantage of being defamed because to be popularized. He didn't want people to know that they were having these pure kirtans.
I don't know. I don't know.
Nitya Lila Bhavatrini just had surgery. That's why she has to lay down, just so you know.
Yes. So one thing you can see, I mean, everybody knew the character of Srivas Acharya, a teacher example. So when those items were left, he said, just see, what that's what I do. Nobody will believe it. They knew who he was. It just went out to, it showed that somebody very vicious was trying to defame him.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was an attack to his devotees, and Krishna won't tolerate that.
Okay, so from what Bhavatrini was saying, Srivas Thakur was actually taking blame for something that was not true, as a way he was taking advantage of that situation to minimize people coming and attending those kirtans.
She was saying that. I don't remember reading that, but she said she read.
Okay,
It was just to in a way keeping those who weren't ready.
kind of like the way Gorka Shortdas Babaji used to dress himself up real fancy.
Yeah, or go to a latrine. Yeah, exactly. So that,
Fearless.
you're a sadhu. What kind of sadhu are you? I mean, like,
Yeah.
and I think that and one of the famous Babajis in our line too, he kept fish bones outside his hut. So people will criticize, or people won't come near him because they all wanted to take advantage of sadhu.
That's such a different mindset than for many of us, because many of us, we want people to think that we're such a nice devotee, and we try, and people put their tilak on pakka and dress very nice and quote the shloks, but actually maybe or leading a kirtan hoping people will notice, there's that desire for name and for fame. But these great personalities, they're completely the opposite of that. They'll do things to make themselves look bad.
Yeah. I mean, I saying that, but imagine the society was so different.
Yeah.
Too. But what you say in the quote is too, I mean, that, yeah, we're looking for, recognition. So then that's our fall. It's a cause for fall down. Krishna will show us, if you get too proud, Krishna will have a way to bring that pride, take that pride away. Devotee is always feeling look at Krishna. Kaviraj Goswami says, I'm lower than the worm and stool. He said, if you remember my name, you will fall down.
Right.
This is, topmost personality, pure devotee, but he thinks himself very, very low. And in that, like Sridhar Maharaj too, he comments that is only then leaves us a position of only going up. Krishna will have, it opens up the mercy of the Lord. It's like, it explains like the mother and the baby. If the baby is quiet, the mother goes around and starts getting busy doing all the other labors that she has to do. But if the child cries, she will leave everything and go take care of the child. So when Gaur Govinda Maharaj, our senior god brother, would say, this is a movement of crying. We'll end up crying. Crying is what will actually bring us the mercy of the Lord. If we think we're okay, then, Krishna said, okay, he's okay. It's like the baby is content. All right, so we leave the baby alone.
Thank you. I would really like to discuss in more detail. It's for me, it's 20 after 9 p.m. here at night. But I would really like to, next session, what Nitya Lila was reading. I have other points I'd like to make about it, but it's late for me right now.
All this is very dense, like I
Yeah,
wanted to follow
not
your
something you can plow through. You can't rush through this.
It's like what we read before was, from Srila Prabhupada. I mean, the pastimes of the gopis, I mean, it's just like very, very dense. And
Yeah.
it will take us maybe life. He has taken us without maybe not knowing, rarely, it has taken us a long time, maybe, I mean, some lifetimes and lifetimes of doing Sukriti in order to be able to sit down and now hear from a pure devotee. These pastimes were like so high, but they're the door, they're the way to get in. But, so I mean, they require quite a long elaboration.
Okay. So we covered the Rasa dance introduction tonight, and then for our next session it will be Krishna hiding from the gopis. That's the next, that'll be for Wednesday.
Oh, a little short thing. Sorry, I mean,
okay.
About the Rasa dance. In this Rasa Panchadhyaya, these 5 chapters there is a commentary by Sridhar Goswami Pad. Sridhar Goswami Pad was before Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya considered him the authority of Bhagavatam. In that one, he says the whole thing before starts. This might be considered a play between boy and girl, but it's not such. At the beginning, Cupid comes to challenge Krishna. Cupid comes to challenge Krishna, and he's defeated.
Kamadev.
Kamadev is Kandarpa. No, what is his name? He has several names. Anyhow, this Cupid comes to try to defeat Krishna, and when Krishna shows his form, because in Rasa dance, in the Rasa dance, especially in that particular Rasa dance and all the Rasa dances, Krishna exhibits this according to the level and love of the devotee. Krishna, his form is even better, best of bests, and so it's best of best in front of Radha, in front of Rasa. So when Krishna shows up, the Cupid faints. He gets defeated.
Thank you. So my obeisances to everyone. Thank you so much. I'm sorry you didn't get a chance to read Sikarani. Maybe you can join us Wednesday. Thank you so much, Veda, for coming. We're going to do this again in 2 more days, if you can make it.
I'll try.
Thank you for bringing your friend.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. Rasangi, sorry we didn't get a chance to hear you read, but maybe Wednesday if you have time. Please accept my respectful obeisances. Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha Krita Sindhubhya Eva Titanam Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Hari Bol.